I'm standing in front of my childhood home, keys shaking in my hand, and I can't bring myself to walk through that front door. My parents died 3 months ago, car accident on a Tuesday morning while getting groceries. And now I'm here to sell the house, to close this chapter of my life forever. But there's something I need to tell you first. Something about that garage door behind me that I was never, ever allowed to open. Something that changed everything I thought I knew about my parents, about sacrifice, and about the secrets we keep to protect the people we love. My name is Sarah, and this is the story of the day I discovered that sometimes the very thing we're forbidden from seeing is exactly what we need to understand everything. If you've ever felt like you didn't really know your parents, like there were parts of their lives they kept hidden from you, please hit that subscribe button. And if this story resonates with you, if it makes you think about the secrets in your own family, please like and share it. Because I'm about to tell you something that I've never told anyone, and I need to know I'm not alone in this. Let me take you back to when I was 7 years old. Picture this, a typical suburban house, white picket fence, the whole American dream package. Except for one thing. That garage door was always locked. Not just locked, sealed. Padlocked. And whenever I got curious about it, my mother would get this look in her eyes. Not angry, but desperate. "Sarah, honey, promise me you'll never try to go in there." She'd kneel down to my level, her hands on my shoulders. Some things are better left alone. My father was different about it. He'd just shake his head and say, "That's not for children, sweetheart. Maybe when you're older." But older never came. I'm 32 now, and until 3 months ago, I still had never been inside that garage. You know what it's like being the kid with the mysterious locked room? Your friends notice. They ask questions. What's in there? Is it haunted? Are your parents hiding something illegal? I learned to laugh it off. Oh, it's just old junk. Boring stuff. But inside? Inside I was dying to know. And as I got older, the curiosity turned into something else. Resentment. Why didn't they trust me? What could possibly be so terrible that their own daughter couldn't see it? The garage became this elephant in our family room. We'd have barbecues in the backyard, and I'd catch my dad staring at it sometimes, this expression on his face I couldn't read. Sadness? Regret? I never knew. My mother would get anxious whenever the conversation turned to home improvement. "We should really organize the garage," friends would suggest. "Get rid of some of that clutter." "Oh, we don't really use it," she'd say quickly. It's fine the way it is." But it wasn't fine. Nothing about it was fine. When I was 16, I had my first real fight with them about it. I was going through that teenage phase where everything felt like a personal attack on my freedom. I demanded to know what was so important that they couldn't trust their own daughter. My father got quiet. Really quiet. And then he said something that haunts me to this day. "Sarah, some doors stay closed to protect the people you love. Not to hurt them." I thought he was being dramatic. Typical parent nonsense about protecting their precious teenager from the harsh realities of the world. I was so wrong. College came and went. I moved to the city, started my career, found my own apartment. But every time I came home for the holidays, that garage door would catch my eye. Still locked. Still mysterious. Still driving me crazy. My parents and I had a good relationship, don't get me wrong. We talked every week. They came to my graduation, celebrated my promotion, supported me through my divorce. But there was always this gap. This thing between us that I couldn't name. It was like living with a secret that wasn't even mine. Pause, looking away from camera briefly. The last time I saw them alive, my mother hugged me goodbye and whispered, "I'm so proud of the woman you've become, Sarah. I hope someday you'll understand why we did the things we did." I wish I'd asked her what she meant. But I was in a hurry, running late for my flight back to the city. I kissed her cheek and said, "Love you too, Mom. See you at Christmas." Christmas never came. It was a Tuesday. I remember because I was in back-to-back meetings all day, and my phone kept buzzing. First call, second call, third call. Finally, I stepped out of the conference room. "Is this Sarah Mitchell?" "This is Officer Rodriguez with the state police. I need to speak with you about your parents, David and Margaret Mitchell." The world tilted. You know that feeling when you're on a roller coaster and it goes over the big drop? That's what it felt like, except the drop never ended. Head-on collision. Other driver ran a red light. They didn't suffer. That's what they tell you when there's nothing else to say that could possibly make it better. I flew home that night. Took a red-eye and sat in the middle seat between a businessman who snored and a woman who cried during the entire in-flight movie. I stared out the window at the darkness below and tried to process the fact that my parents were gone. Just gone. Walking into their house was like stepping into a museum. Everything exactly as they left it. Coffee cups still in the sink. My mother's reading glasses on the kitchen table next to a half-finished crossword puzzle. My father's jacket hanging on the back of his chair. The silence was deafening. I spent the first week just trying to function. Making funeral arrangements, calling relatives, dealing with insurance companies. Everyone kept saying the same thing: take your time. There's no rush. But there was a rush. The mortgage, the utilities, the endless paperwork. I needed to sell the house. I needed to move on with my life. I needed to stop feeling like I was living in someone else's story. The real estate agent was this cheerful woman named Linda who wore too much perfume and kept talking about staging and curb appeal. She walked through the house with her clipboard, making notes. "Beautiful property," she said. "Should sell quickly. Though we'll need to clear out that garage, of course. Storage spaces are a big selling point." My stomach dropped. The garage? Oh yes, definitely. Buyers love to see the potential. "We'll need to clean it out, maybe paint the walls. Make it look spacious and organized." I hadn't even thought about the garage. In all my grief and planning, I'd somehow forgotten about the one room I'd never been in. The one space that would need to be cleaned, organized, and presented to strangers. That night, I stood in the kitchen staring at the key ring my father had carried for 25 years. 37 keys. I'd counted them. House key, car key, office key, safety deposit box key. And one small silver key that I'd never seen him use. I held it up to the light. It was worn smooth, like it had been handled a lot. Like it was important. Like it opened something that mattered. For 3 weeks, I avoided the garage. I cleaned out every other room in the house. I sorted through photo albums and kitchen utensils and my father's collection of old jazz records. I found love letters my parents had written to each other during their engagement. I found my baby shoes and report cards from 3rd grade. But I couldn't bring myself to walk the 15 feet from the kitchen door to the garage. Linda called every few days. "How's the garage coming along?" she'd ask. "The showing is scheduled for next week." "Almost done," I'd lie. "Just a few more boxes." I started having dreams about it. Nightmares, really. In the dreams, I'd open the garage door and find terrible things. Bodies. Stolen goods. Evidence of crimes. I'd wake up in a cold sweat, my heart pounding. But during the day, when I was rational, I knew my parents weren't criminals. They were the most honest people I'd ever known. My father returned extra change at the grocery store. My mother drove 20 minutes out of her way to return a wallet she found in a parking lot. So what could be so terrible that they'd keep it locked away for 25 years? The night before the showing, I sat in my parents' living room with a glass of wine and stared at that key ring. The house was empty except for the garage. Everything else was packed, donated, or thrown away. I called my best friend, Jessica. I can't do it, I told her. I can't open that door. Sarah, honey, it's just a garage. How bad could it be? You don't understand. They made me promise. When I was 7 years old, my mother made me promise I'd never go in there. You were 7. You're 32 now. And there, she paused. They're not here to explain anymore. Maybe they would have told you eventually. Maybe they were waiting for the right time. But what if they weren't? What if they never wanted me to know? Jessica was quiet for a moment. Then she said, what if they were protecting you from something that doesn't need protecting anymore? What if the only way to really understand them is to see what they couldn't show you? She was right. I hung up the phone and walked to the kitchen. I picked up the key ring and found that small silver key. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold it. I walked to the garage door. Put the key in the lock. Turned it. The click was the loudest sound I'd ever heard. I stood there for what felt like hours, my hand on the door handle. My heart was beating so fast I thought I might pass out. Every instinct told me to turn around, to lock the door again, to call Linda and tell her the garage was off limits. But I couldn't live with the mystery anymore. I couldn't sell the house and walk away without knowing what my parents had hidden from me for my entire life. I opened the door. The first thing that hit me was the smell. Not bad, just different. Like old wood and metal and something else I couldn't identify. It was dark, the overhead light had burned out years ago, but there was enough light from the kitchen to see shapes. And oh my God, the shapes. I thought I was going to scream. Not from fear, but from... I don't even know what to call it. Shock? Disbelief? My legs actually gave out. I had to grab the doorframe to keep from falling. Because what I saw wasn't terrible. It wasn't criminal or dangerous or shameful. It was beautiful. The entire garage had been converted into a workshop. Not just any workshop, a jewelry-making studio. Professional-grade equipment everywhere. Workbenches with tiny hammers and pliers. Rows of organized drawers filled with beads and wire and precious stones. A kiln in the corner. Magnifying glasses on articulated arms. But that wasn't what made me nearly collapse. It was the jewelry. Hundreds of pieces. Necklaces, earrings, bracelets, rings. All handmade. All exquisite. All tagged with little white labels in my mother's careful handwriting. For Sarah's graduation. For Sarah's wedding. For Sarah's first baby. For Sarah's 30th birthday. For Sarah's new job. Piece after piece, labeled for events in my life. Some that had already happened, some that hadn't happened yet, some that might never happen. And in the center of it all, on the main workbench, was a wooden box. A jewelry box. With a note on top in my father's handwriting, for Sarah, when she's ready to understand. I sat down on a stool and opened the box. Inside was the most beautiful necklace I'd ever seen. Delicate silver work with tiny sapphires, my birthstone. And underneath it, a letter. My dearest Sarah, if you're reading this, then we're gone, and you've finally opened the door we asked you never to open. We're sorry for the secrecy, sweetheart. We're sorry for the mystery that probably drove you crazy your whole life. The truth is, we were afraid you'd think we were silly. Two adults spending decades making jewelry for a daughter who might never want it, planning for a future we might not get to see. Your mother started this when you were born. She was so overwhelmed by how much she loved you, she didn't know what to do with all that feeling. So she started making things. Beautiful things. Things that could last longer than we could. Every piece in this room represents a moment we dreamed about sharing with you. Every bead, every wire, every carefully polished stone is a prayer for your happiness. We know you probably think we should have told you. Maybe we should have. But we were scared you'd feel obligated to appreciate it. We wanted you to live your life, make your own choices, become your own person. This was our way of loving you without crowding you. The workshop became our sanctuary. When you were struggling through your divorce, we'd come out here and make you earrings that we hoped would make you feel beautiful again. When you got promoted, we celebrated by crafting a bracelet worthy of your success. We were going to tell you eventually. We were going to show you everything when you got engaged again, or when you had children, or when you turned 40. We kept waiting for the right moment. But maybe there is no right moment. Maybe the right moment is just when you need to know that you were loved. Completely, unconditionally, creatively loved. Everything in this room is yours, Sarah. But more than that, the love that made it is yours. It always was. We hope you understand now why we kept this door closed. Not to keep you out, but to keep the surprise in. Not to hide from you, but to preserve something beautiful until you were ready to receive it. We love you, sweetheart. We love you more than we ever knew how to say. Mom and Dad. I must have sat in that garage for hours. Just looking around, touching things, reading the labels. There were pieces for birthdays I'd forgotten about. There was a graduation gift from college that I'd never received because they were too shy to give it to me. There was a divorce survival kit, a set of earrings and a bracelet and a ring that spelled out strong in tiny silver letters. Do you know what the hardest part was? Realizing that while I'd been feeling shut out, resentful, suspicious of their secrets, they'd been in here every evening after dinner, talking about me. Planning for me. Dreaming about my future. While I was wondering if they trusted me, they were trusting me with their deepest love. They were betting their hearts on my happiness, even when I was too stubborn or busy or hurt to see it. I found calendars where they'd marked my achievements, my heartbreaks, my milestones. I found sketches for pieces they'd planned around my personality changes as I grew up. When I went through my goth phase at 14, they designed a beautiful black onyx set that I never got to see. The guilt was overwhelming at first. All those years of feeling like they were keeping me at arm's length, when really they were holding me so close they didn't want to overwhelm me with the intensity of their love. But then I realized something. They weren't just making jewelry. They were teaching me something profound about love itself. Real love isn't always visible. It doesn't always announce itself or demand recognition. Sometimes the deepest love is the love that works quietly, behind closed doors, creating beauty for someone who doesn't even know they need it yet. My parents loved me so much they spent decades preparing for my life. They anticipated my joys and my sorrows and my milestones, and they made something beautiful for each one. They loved me into my future, even when they couldn't be there to see it. That's when I understood what my father meant all those years ago. Some doors stay closed to protect the people you love. Not to hurt them, but to preserve something precious until they're ready to receive it properly. They weren't hiding from me. They were preparing for me. I called Linda the next morning and canceled the showing. I need more time, I told her. There's something in the house I need to understand better. She was frustrated, but I didn't care. I had 25 years of love to catch up on. I spent the next month in that garage. I learned to use the tools. I read the journals my mother had kept, documenting her techniques and her inspirations. I found videos they'd made for themselves, recording new methods they'd learned online. In one video, my mother looked directly at the camera and said, "I hope Sarah appreciates how much time I spent learning to make this clasp work properly. This better make her feel like the queen she is." I started wearing the jewelry. Every day, a different piece. The graduation necklace when I had important meetings. The divorce survival ring when I needed to feel strong. The birthday earrings when I needed to remember I was loved. And something magical happened. I started feeling like myself again. Not just the grieving daughter trying to clean up her parents' house, but Sarah. The woman they'd raised, the woman they'd believed in, the woman they'd spent decades creating beautiful things for. I started telling people about the garage. About the workshop. About the love I'd discovered behind a door I'd resented my whole life. My friend Jessica cried when I showed her the friendship bracelet my parents had made after she helped me through my divorce. They made this for me? But they barely knew me. They knew you were important to me, I said. That made you important to them. My cousin Mark, who'd always thought my parents were too private, too closed off, saw the family reunion earrings they'd made for his wedding. They were paying attention, he said, amazed. They were paying attention to all of us. I realized that my parents hadn't just been loving me in secret. They'd been loving everyone in my life. Every person who mattered to me mattered to them. Every relationship I valued was precious to them. They'd been building a network of love around me, and I'd never even known it existed. The house didn't feel empty anymore. It felt full. Full of years of quiet love, of careful attention, of dreams made manifest in silver and gold and precious stones. I decided not to sell it. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Instead, I moved back home. I kept my job in the city but worked remotely. I turned my childhood bedroom into a home office and spent my evenings in the garage, learning to use the tools my parents had collected. I started making jewelry myself. Not just finishing their pieces, but creating new ones. For my friends, for their children, for the people I loved. And I started understanding something about myself. I'd always been creative, but I'd never known where it came from. Now I knew. It came from them. From hours of watching them work with their hands, even though I'd never seen them do it. It came from being loved so carefully, so intentionally, that creativity was my birthright. 6 months after opening that garage door, I threw a party. Not a memorial service or a celebration of life, but a party. A jewelry party. I invited everyone who'd been important to my parents, everyone who'd been important to me, and I gave them the pieces my parents had made for them. Because it turned out there were pieces for everyone. Mrs. Henderson from next door got a brooch shaped like a garden trowel because she'd always shared her tomatoes with us. My college roommate got a charm bracelet with tiny books because she'd become a librarian. My ex-husband got a simple ring with his initials because, as my mother's note explained, he made Sarah happy for a while, and that means something. People cried. People laughed. People told stories about my parents that I'd never heard. And I realized that the love I'd discovered in that garage wasn't just for me. It was bigger than me. It was a whole philosophy of how to love people. Pay attention. Create beauty. Prepare for joy. Work quietly. Love extravagantly. I still live in the house. I still work in the garage most evenings. I've gotten pretty good at jewelry making, though I'll never be as skilled as my mother was. But that's not the point. The point is that I understand now what love looks like when it's not performed or announced or demanded. I understand what it means to love someone so much that you spend decades preparing for their happiness. I wear something my parents made every single day. Not just because it's beautiful, though it is, but because it reminds me that I was loved in ways I never knew existed. That I am loved in ways I never knew existed. And I want you to know that you are too. Maybe not with handmade jewelry, but with something. Someone in your life has loved you quietly, behind closed doors, in ways you haven't recognized yet. Maybe it's time to look for those closed doors. Not to force them open, but to understand that sometimes the most profound love is the love that works in secret, creating beauty for a future it might not get to see. My parents taught me that love isn't just a feeling. It's a practice. It's years of small, deliberate acts of creation and care. It's believing in someone's future even when you can't see it clearly. That garage door that I resented for so long? It wasn't keeping me out. It was keeping love in. Protecting it. Preserving it. Until I was ready to receive it properly. If this story has touched you, if it's made you think about the hidden love in your own life, please share it. Please like it. Please leave a comment telling me about a time someone loved you in a way you didn't recognize until later. Because that's what we do. We love each other in secret, and we hope that someday, somehow, the people we love will understand the depth of what we've felt for them. My parents are gone, but their love isn't. It's in every piece of jewelry they made. It's in every evening I spend in their workshop. It's in every person who received a gift they didn't know was coming. And it's in you, too. The love that made you, the love that shaped you, the love that's still creating beautiful things for your future. You just have to be brave enough to open the door. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for letting me share this with you. And remember, somewhere, someone is loving you in ways you haven't discovered yet. The door is always there when you're ready to open it.